And we now turn and recognize the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Whitfield.
Chairman Markey, thank you very much. And before I give my opening statement, I would like to ask unanimous consent that the statement of Mr. Radonovich of California be submitted for the hearing record.
Without objection, it will be included, and any opening statements from any of the members who cannot attend this session will be included by unanimous consent in the record.
Thank you very much.
The chair is recognized. We'll put it back at 5 minutes. The gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Whitfield, is recognized for his opening statement.
Thank you very much, Chairman Markey. And I would like to say that while climate change may be one of the most urgent problems facing our country, the way that this bill affects our production of electricity and the production of the fuel we use for our transportation needs in America may very well dwarf the climate change problem. Now, why do I say that? I say that because it's essential as we move forward to produce cleaner energy that we balance the need of cleaner energy versus the need of protecting jobs in the U.S. and keeping the U.S. competitive in the global marketplace. Now, President Obama and others have said that the jobs created as this country moves into clean energy will far offset the jobs that we lose with our traditional energy sources. I've read a lot of studies, and there are some studies that say that that's actually the case. But you can find just as many studies that say the jobs created as we move into a greener economy will not offset the jobs of the traditional economy. And so I think we have to look very carefully at that as we move forward. I would also point out that recently we met with a group of Chinese, and they were very emphatic when they met with us, and they indicated that every 2 weeks they're bringing on a new coal-powered plant in China. And also the same type of activities taking place in India. And I might say that those coal plants in China and India frequently do not have scrubbers. They certainly don't have carbon capture and sequestration. And those countries are utilizing coal because it still is the most economical way to produce electricity. And they want to maintain low transportation costs. They want to maintain low electrical costs. They want to maintain low labor costs because they want to be the most competitive country in the world. And if we move unilaterally to address some of these issues as is set out in this legislation, I think there is a real danger that we are going to be less competitive in the global marketplace. Renewables under this legislation, we want to produce 20% of our electricity by renewables by the year 2025. And I think Mr. Barton and his testimony showed very clearly that in states like Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Ohio, Florida, Georgia, you simply cannot produce that much electricity by wind power and solar power. It simply cannot be done. And yet this legislation will provide a penalty for those utilities that are unable to do so. I would also point out that we know that we produce 51% of our electricity by coal, and in order to continue to do that and also to help using coal around the world, that we have to perfect carbon capture and storage technology. Recently, I've had some conversations with Dr. Kurt House, who's one of the few people that I know that actually wrote and received a doctoral degree on carbon capture and sequestration. He's looked at this legislation, and he is also involved with a company that right now was featured in the New York Times on Saturday, that they're contemplating building a $5 billion carbon capture and sequestration plant that will store carbon dioxide on the ocean floor. But when he made comments on this legislation, and I think this is very constructive comments that we should look at as we move forward, and I would also ask unanimous consent that I be able to submit for the record his comments on the carbon capture and sequestration part of this bill. So if there's no objection, I hope that that would be admitted.
Without objection, it will be.
But one of the suggestions that he made, and this is the only one that I'll talk about, and I think it's something we should think about, was to reduce the bill's floor for the amount of CO2 that a plant emits before it can qualify for funding from this act. He suggests lowering it from 250,000 tons of CO2 to 100,000 tons of CO2. He also has some other, I think, very constructive recommendations on the carbon capture part of this bill, which will play a vital role if we're going to continue to utilize coal and be competitive in the global marketplace. So I want to commend the chairman and the others who've worked on this bill, and we look forward to working with you as we move forward.
We thank the gentleman very much.